This is Normandale Lake. Well, Normandale Lake is my favorite lake. I've had a lifetime of art. This is my hallway of memories, yes, you might call it. I go by Les Fordahl. I've been an artist in sketching since I was 8 years old. The arts document real time as you're seeing, as it's happening. This is me when I was younger. They asked for a volunteer to go to Vietnam. I went there as a draftsman. I was sketching to relax. The colonel come up and he said, they need a fourth man on the combat art team on the 221st Combat Art Division to document the history of the war. Would you like to be on that team? I said, sure, I'd love to do what I love to do. There were 46 of us that were documented as legitimate artists documenting the history of the war. Part of my history is they call me Last Minute Les. In Vietnam, there's 2 weeks before the Bob Hope USO show was to come to Long Binh in 1970. They didn't have any advertising out. He said, we need an advertisement for the Bob Hope show. Could you do something? We need it today. These pictures here are all in the Library of Congress archives. I left 5 paintings and sketches with the combat art team, and apparently they got back because the Library of Congress has a record of all of them. 15 years later, Paul Cameron wrote a letter and said, do you have any sketches? They aren't teaching about the Vietnam War. So they asked if they could have anything to teach with art and history. So I took the drawings out and I went to coffee shops, sit in my home studio, and I just started finishing details. That's how I ended up in a textbook. A self-taught artist, who would know? We're working on the Bloomington Remembers Veterans. Bloomington is one of the only cities that doesn't have a memorial for veterans. And having been through a war, the sacrifices you make, you risk the fact that you may not come home. I don't want it forgotten. Art therapy is being used for all kinds of PTSD. I am one of the more fortunate ones to come back physically and whole body. I volunteered at the VA Adult Daycare Center at 66 and Cedar, and for 5 years I taught crafts and arts to veterans who had brain injuries or whatever. I spent 38 years walking the mail. I enjoyed being outside because everything was able to distract me from any PTSD. My wife and I dug the hole and built this house. We designed it and built it ourselves. As an artist, I want to promote the arts, and I want students to know there's so many areas of the arts you can go into. I've had a purpose because of my art to help others, to instruct, to educate, and just relate with people.